Yo, what's up? Welcome back to another episode of the Sauce. College Basketball Thursday. I'm going through 4 or 5 games. We'll see how many I have time to get through. Let's get it started.
Welcome to the Sauce. The Sauce. Sauce. Hey, get the sauce.
First up, let's talk some Big Ten. We got Michigan on the road at Maryland here. Terps are laying 5.5 points at home with the total sitting at 140. As far as matching up these two teams on the court, we got to start with breaking news. Michigan star offensive player Doug McDaniel suspended for the next 6 road games. He leads the team in scoring, averaging 17.8 points per game on the season. And this Michigan offense was starting to roll too. 32nd in the country in points per game, 45th in offensive efficiency. I know those numbers don't sound too insane, but they have the 4th strongest schedule in the country. So to be putting up offensive numbers like that with their schedule, it's definitely impressive. Now they lose their best offensive player, their best scorer, and go on the road to play Maryland, who might have a top 25 defense here. Certainly one of the best defenses in the Big Ten. Maryland's 16th in the country, allowing under 64 points per game. They're 27th in overall defensive efficiency. Terps defense is for real. This is not a place you want to go play missing your best scorer. And this matchup gets even worse for Michigan. They're having turnover problems. They're averaging over 13 turnovers per game. They're 269th in the country in turnover rate. Maryland's really good at creating turnovers. They're forcing over 14 turnovers per game. And Doug McDaniel, that player who's suspended, he's their primary ball handler, so the turnovers may even be worse. So I know at first glance, we're sitting here looking at this like, yo, this is a hammer spot for Maryland. But check this out. I mentioned earlier that Michigan is 4th in the country in strength of schedule. Maryland's all the way back at 282nd. And each time Maryland's played a team ranked in KenPom's top 100, they've lost. They're 0-4. Purdue, Minnesota, Indiana, Villanova, lost them all. 6 is a big number to lay with a team that really hasn't beaten anybody, but this is such a bad matchup for Michigan. And honestly, who knows what that offense looks like without McDaniel out there. So I'm going to lay it. Toast agrees, Andy agrees. Maryland -6, next game. Let's swing it out to the Pac-12. We got UCLA on the road at Utah. Utah laying 9.5 points at home here with a total sitting at 137.5. So we'll start with a rough-looking stat for UCLA here. Just 1-5 on the road so far this season. Their only road win was against Oregon State, a team that's ranked number 158 according to KenPom. The UCLA offense is just abysmal. 332nd in efficient field goal percentage, 330th in three-point percentage, 310th in true shooting. I mean, this offense has been terrible. Now, I guess the good news for UCLA would be this Utah defense has looked vulnerable the last couple games. They went on the road at Arizona and Arizona State last week. Entering those 2 games, they're allowing opponents to shoot just 40.3% from the floor, 32% from 3. But in those 2 road games in Arizona, they got lit up. Over 55% field goals from the field and a 47% three-point percentage. So the Utah defense just went bye-bye the last couple games. But in my opinion, it's only 2 games. It's a small sample size. They were on the road. Now they're back home where they've been much better against a really bad UCLA offense. Utes defense should get right back on track here. And honestly, you can kind of say the same thing about the Utah offense. Utah's got an elite offense, but just like the defense, it's been pretty off the last 2 games when they went out to Arizona. Now they're back home where the Utes are a perfect 8-0. On the season, Utah's averaging 80.3 points per game, but at home, that number jumps all the way up to 87.1. At home, they're shooting 51% from the floor, 39% from 3. On the road, those numbers fall to 43% and 34%. So just like the Utah defense, I expect the offense to try to get it back going. The reason I said try to get it back going is we can trash the UCLA offense all we want, but the defense has been real. On defense, I mean, it's the only thing keeping UCLA in games. They're 12th in the country in points per game allowed, 36th in field goal percentage allowed. And you know what they say, defense does travel. The truth is, though, I don't trust UCLA's offense to score enough to cover this number, so I would actually lean Utah minus the 9.5, but I'm going to take the under here. Under 137.5 next game. Back over to the Big Ten, we got Michigan State on the road at Illinois here. Illinois laying 3.5 points at home and the total sitting at 150.5. Huge Big Ten game here between 2 very tested teams. Both teams in the top 35 of strength of schedule this year. Net ratings have Illinois as slightly strong. Well, not slightly stronger. They have Illinois as the stronger team, but not by a ton. 16th overall, 22nd offensively, and 11th defensively for Illinois. Michigan State, 47th, 38th, 29th. Michigan State offensively has definitely been pretty efficient. They would like to see a few more threes dropping, just 76 and 3-point percentage, but that's not terrible. And as a whole, things seem to be coming around for Michigan State offensively. They're averaging 88 points per game in their last 4, plus assists are up, turnovers are down. You'll love to see it. Here's the problem, though. None of the opponents Michigan State has seen in their last 4 games, when these numbers are looking good, none of the opponents they've seen come close to Illinois' defense. One of the best defenses in the country. They're 4th in efficient field goal percentage, 3rd in true shooting. This will be Michigan State's toughest test to date. But we do need to ask if this Illinois defense might be a bit overrated, because in the last 7 games, when Illinois started to see some stronger competition, the numbers don't look nearly as impressive. You can see the field goal percentage allowed jumps from 34% to 43%. Points per game jumps from 58.6 to 75. So Illinois' elite defense has definitely shown some vulnerability as of late when they've started seeing some stronger competition. And on the other side of the ball, honestly, I'd give the edge to Michigan State. Illinois' outside shooting has been just okay, back at 110th in the country. Meanwhile, Michigan State's flirting with being a top 25 defense. Sparty's defense is going to give him problems. The big mismatch in this one, though, for Illinois is rebounding, no question. Illinois is an elite rebounding team, while Michigan State cannot say the same. Let's leave it at that. We should definitely expect to see some second chance points for Illinois, some extra possessions. Makes it really tough to get there with Michigan State, but that's still where I'd go. I'd still lean towards Sparty here. Michigan State plus 3.5. It's already been bet down from 4.5. Next game. Stanford on the road at Oregon State here. Beavers catching 4.5 points at home. The total sitting at 141.5. So Stanford's off to a pretty decent start here. 2-2 in conference play. Huge win over Arizona. I understand that their win over UCLA, maybe not crazy impressive, but still a good win for this Stanford program. The biggest surprise for this Stanford team, specifically the offense, has been the shooting. They're 23rd in effective field goal percentage and 17th in 3-point percentage. They've also done a good job of contesting shots, sitting at 24th in adjusted defense. The Stanford team's been pretty solid. They do have weaknesses, though. They do not force turnovers. They're not a good offensive rebounding team, and they do not get to the free throw line. They kind of remind me of the Milwaukee Bucks in the NBA this year a little bit, where on paper, if you look at they shoot well, they contest shots well, but all the underlying numbers, all the intangibles, not so much. That kind of reminds me of the Stanford numbers I'm looking at. On the Oregon State side, not a ton of talent, but they do have a couple jump shooters. They're 39th in the country in mid-range frequency. They're also shooting the 3-ball really well, number 44 in efficient 3-point shooting. The key factor to look for in this game is tempo, because these teams are just polar opposites, and this will give you a good idea of who's controlling the game. Because if it's up to Stanford, they want to run. They're in the top 60 as far as pace of play. Oregon State is in the 300s. So you got a Stanford team that wants to run up and down the floor against an Oregon State team that wants to play half-court basketball. For me, this one comes down to the home-away splits for Oregon State, though. Just like the Oregon State football team, this basketball team, do they play in Corvallis? I don't even know. I'm a college football guy if you haven't figured it out. But this Oregon State team, just much better at home according to the numbers. And I'm down to play that. You got Stanford playing their 3rd straight road game coming off Arizona and USC. I don't love the spot for Stanford at all. I think Oregon State's a live dog here. So give me the Beavers plus the points, maybe even a little bit on the money line. That's all the time I have in this one. We'll be live, though, at 4 p.m. Eastern time. We'll go through all the NBA games and a bunch of more college basketball games. I got 3 guests coming on. That's 4 p.m. Eastern time. If you can make it, we'd love to see you in the comments. Let's have a good Thursday night. Remember to bet responsibly, and I'll talk to you in the Discord.